is the neighborhood, and you are not welcome.
That's why I need to be here.
In today's video, we'll be visiting another type of gayborhood as we take a gander at the participants of the San Francisco Transgender March. We'll also be asking ourselves, what does the acronym LGGBDTTTIQQAAPP, yes it is real, stand for? Remember to subscribe and activate all notifications by clicking on the bell icon, otherwise, well, who knows who may mysteriously turn up at your front door.
Cathartic.
Gender is a universe.
All white people benefit from racism.
The health problems I have are more age-related than weight-related.
You are a white privileged male.
That's just obnoxious.
Peter
Sorry,
Lloyd,
you have to give me a chance to
we'll let you
respond to that.
And we don't.
My shirt says gender.
Would you like to explain that, please?
No, you need to gender.
So your shirt says this isn't even my final form. What is your final form?
This, but deeper voice and more facial hair, hopefully.
Where do you think the lack of unity comes from?
I believe it's a colonized thing.
And now, what type of dogs are you most into? What breed of pups?
Myself, I'm half a greyhound, half a Malamute, so...
You yourself, you're half greyhound and half... That's how you visualize yourself?
Yeah.
I wonder if he's into pup play, where men, and I'm sure women, although I rarely see women participating, dress up as canines and carry out tasks for their masters. On a related note, if you click the little eye icon in the top right of the video, you can watch my video dedicated to the marvels of pup play.
I met my first human pup. It was 1986, and I thought, oh my god, that's so sexy.
What would you consider yourself?
It's hard to define. I keep changing my mind on it.
So, what do you think are some of the greatest threats that the LGBT community faces?
Let's see. The current administration, general prejudice, ignorance, transphobic, all that sort of stuff.
Well, for those of you who may be curious about joining the Trans March is San Francisco's premier trans pride event, and it's one of the largest trans events in the entire country, the entire world, and the entire universe. It's always on the Friday before Pride, and it's always amazing. And if you go to their FAQ section, there is this very important question. Can I bring my children to the Trans March? Abso-freaking-lutely. We love kids. We especially love trans kids and kids of trans people. We love them so much that we have volunteer face painters to help your kids have a good time. Stop by the youth elder area for a snack, a juice box, and a cool face paint. Yes, we do unicorns. Unfortunately, given all the current events that are happening everywhere on the globe, the Trans March 2020 is now virtual this year, which is a shame because we won't be seeing scenes such as this, or perhaps this. But if you pop on over to their Facebook page, we can see that the Trans March 2020 Facebook event already has 131 participants, with a further 123 people interested.
Hey, what's up? I'm LeLuLeVay.com. I don't know. What's up?
How do you plan on getting your final form?
Well, I'm on testosterone, so hopefully that'll do the job. Working out, I should do more of that. It's hard to find the time, though.
The concepts of colonization, that this place was once free and everything just grew and we just picked it up. And now all of these people have to do things because they want it to continue to work. And we're all just slaves to trying to work under this capitalist regime.
As much as I love her fashion sense, it's odd that according to this young lady, the San Francisco Trans March is a big FU to the capitalist regime that is crushing the populace. I'm still waiting for her to mention that the whole point of pride marches and rallies such as these are to raise awareness and combat stigma and prejudice. But I mean, she looks a bit confused.
When do you think is the best time for somebody to get involved with the trans community and drag themselves? Do you think that they should wait until they're a certain age, or is it perfectly fine for a child 7 or 8 years old to become involved in the community?
I mean, if a kid knows they're trans, then they're trans and should be supported at whatever age they realize it.
May I ask you one more question?
Definitely.
How many genders do you believe there are?
Really don't know that one. I wish there was a thing, but there's chromosomes, there's cells, there's the fact of you teleporting, and once photon teleportation does happen, it's how much of you actually is you and how much of whatever is going on isn't you. It's a very complicated thing, and it's just a structure that we don't really understand besides X, Y's, and where we come from, and it's very complicated to even say if we're alive.
Well, not to worry, in the video coming up we'll be looking at sexual identity and genders in finer detail with handy definitions. In other news regarding chromosomes, XX is female and XY is male, water is wet, the sky is blue, and only a bigot wouldn't subscribe to my channel. Well, just saying.
Is it consensual?
I would hope so.
Well, regarding the Trans March on the San Francisco government website, it says that San Francisco has long been a cultural and spiritual home for trans communities. However, income inequality, skyrocketing rents, and systemic discrimination have formed unrelenting barriers between trans communities and housing stability in the city. In result, 1 out of every 2 trans San Franciscans have faced homelessness in their life, and that is a crisis. The Trans March Committee reminds us that action is incumbent when our trans sisters of colour face murder, trans people don't have a safe place to sleep, and the federal government is inhumanely stripping away trans rights and targeting innocent immigrant families and neighbours. Today we back our words with action. And on a similar note, KQED writes that while the Trans March is an annual reminder of the many gains that trans people have made since 2004, it's also a way of illuminating the things that are still to be done, with the Trump administration allowing doctors to deny medical services to transgender patients, banning transgender service members from the military, and threatening to define trans people out of existence. There is a lot of action needed before trans people have their full rights as American citizens.
Well, the tolerance police have a lot of power here in America, in case you haven't noticed, but they're even stronger in Canada. Just yesterday, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau delivered an official apology to gay and transgender Canadians for past state discrimination against them. But now teachers in Durham, Ontario had to attend an inclusiveness training course for the deep breath here, LGGBDTTTIQQAAPP community, which is apparently a community, that 15-letter acronym intended to encompass all sexual minorities. It may soon be required at schools.
In an article by the Daily Mail, they say that while inclusivity is generally applauded, some on social media were more than a little baffled by the title, and it attracted plenty of hate from the right. One user wrote, "ETFO is learning about the LGGBDTTTIQQAAPP. I wonder if they feel insignificant or perhaps inadequate with their piddly little acronym." Another said, "LGGBDTTTIQQAAPP just rolls off the tongue. Well, I find it rather whimsical. A person who identifies as genderqueer or non-binary does not feel like terms such as male or female adequately designate how they identify or choose to present themselves. Asexuality.org defines a demisexual as someone who does not experience sexual attraction unless they form a strong emotional connection with someone. So basically, dating. Accounting for native peoples, the training also is inclusive of those who identify as two-spirit, or those who possess both masculine and feminine spirits. The session's goal was to become more familiar with current language, sensitive to current issues, and to share best practices in supporting the LGGBDITTTIQQAAPP peers and students, and share best practices in supporting our LGGBDITTTIQQAAPP peers and students. According to the flyer, fewer than 1% of ETFO members were open with their identities, even though half of the public secretly identifies as LGBT to some extent. If we want students to succeed, if we want to reduce staff anxiety and stress, we need to create a much more welcoming and accepting environment, the flyer added.
Stephen LeDrew is a former president of Canada's Liberal Party, and he joins us tonight. Stephen, thanks for coming on.
Hi, Tucker.
So what does this acronym mean specifically? What are the categories?
Well, I mean, it's generally shortened to LGBTQ, which is the communities, and there's a few extra ones they've added in there. But no one goes by that. Maybe that's to teach kids the alphabet or not, but generally it's referred to, and the Prime Minister referred to it yesterday in the House of Commons during his apology, as LGBTQ. And some people don't even know what it means, but they just know that means inclusiveness. It's a good thing. It's a question of tolerance.
Right, of course, but I guess what piqued my interest was the addition of new letters, each representing a new category. And I'm not against it, kind of confused by it, and I just want to know what it means. Do you know what the acronym stands for? Do you know what those 15 groups are?
What's the problem with it? You know, even
I'm not saying,
but
hold on, slow down. I'm not saying there is a problem with it. I'm just asking what it is, because defining the terms is the first step to understanding them and then accepting them. So what is it?
For those of you who may be slightly confused, if we head on over to the LGGBDTTTIQQAAPP website, it has an informative list of what makes up this very special acronym. Lesbian, gay, genderqueer, bisexual, demisexual, transgender, transsexual, two-spirit, intersex, queer, questioning, asexual, allies, pansexual, polyamorous.
Well, I mean, you've got in front of you. You have me at a disadvantage on that one because, to be very candid with you, as I said, everybody in Canada knows what LGBTQ, sometimes a two in the end, means. But that long one, quite frankly, until your producers showed it to me, I hadn't seen it. But then I looked at it, and you have all the definitions through there.
Okay, that's fine. But then why do you think it's a good thing if you don't know what it is?
But what's the matter with it?
Well, I don't know what I mean, look, I don't know. I mean, you could hand me a box and say there's something great inside, and my answer would be, okay, what is it? I mean, I don't pronounce things great until I know what they are, but you don't have that problem. So, okay, I'll get specific with you. And this is meaningful because teachers are being taught this, kids will be taught it, and I think I have a right to non-judgmentally ask what they're talking about. So, for example, what's two-spirit?
However, it's worth noting that two-spirit is a term only appropriate for Native people. Two-spirit is a role that existed in a Native American First Nations indigenous tribe for genderqueer, gender-fluid and gender-non-conforming tribal members. If you don't have a tribe, you can't claim that role, so stop appropriating other people's cultures.
Well, two-spirit sounds like there's someone they don't know whether they're, fish or fowl. They don't know whether they're frick or frack. So they're clearly confused. And, again, if you're confused, what better place to go than to be at school? So, I mean, all those categories, I'll bet you, Tucker, all those categories that are in that long litany that you laid out there, I'll bet you that no one, well, maybe 5 people in all of Canada, could lay out what exactly those are.
Well, I'm curious to see how many of my viewers secretly identify as LGGBDTTTIQQAAPP, or have LGGBDTTTIQQAAPP fantasies, or perhaps you know someone who is LGGBDTTTIQQAAPP. In any case, LGGBDTTTIQQAAPP training to raise awareness in the LGGBDTTTIQQAAPP community should be applauded.
But if someone feels that they are a better person, that they are more included in society, that there's someone else in society, some teachers who understand them or who want to understand them, that's what Canada's about.
No, but hold on, wait, no, I'm sorry. Look, I'm for people feeling included. I'm against meanness. I'm for politeness. But I also believe in the right to ask simple questions and get direct answers. So if you're teaching kids about a group, I think it's fair to define what it is. I mean, you don't know, but you're willing to say, well, it's great, and I'm baffled by that because maybe it's not great. Maybe we should find out what it is before we say that, no?
Ugh, Tucker. Always being a bigot and questioning the LGGBDTTTIQQAAPP community. Oh, and by the way, you may be wondering what exactly is a demisexual. Well, for starters, a demisexual has their own flag, as you can see here. For both flags, black symbolises asexuality, purple symbolises community, and grey represents grey ace, those falling between sexual and asexual. They have some or occasional feelings of sexual desire and demisexuality, according to Entity magazine. Entity here seems like a fitting term. Meanwhile, the meaning of white represents sexuality on the demisexual flag. However, it represents non-asexual partners and allies on the asexual flag. Unfortunately, iPhone users are unable to find the demisexual flag as an emoji, as the only pride flag available for use is the general rainbow flag. Aww. And on a side note, it's worth noting that demisexuals may also append a gender orientation to the label, as in demi-heterosexual or demi-bisexual.
Cathartic.